Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. So today I will give a little bit of demonstration about authentication and authorization in Strapi using Postman as well. So first we'll open terminal. So I will change my directory to previously created folder, which is image repo, where I created the Strapi project, and I will continue the development by typing yarn develop. Wait for a second to start the Strapi, and then here we are. I will copy this link. I will open my browser, then just paste and go to localhost on port 1337. So I will enter my credential. So here I enter to Strapi admin dashboard. So first we will look at roles and permissions here, and currently there are 3 roles available here, but basically by default Strapi only provides 2 roles, which are authenticated and public. So I created a new role called manager. So let's check out what each roles can do with the permissions. So first, authenticated users, which are namely Kevin and Mark, and the authenticated users are permitted to count, find, create, find one, update, but not permitted to delete. So the create, update and delete refers to tree of CRUD operation, but here I don't permit to delete because what I'm creating, the image repository service, is something which is very important, so I will not grant any users to delete the content. And then here, the upload section, I permit to upload on image repos for authenticated users. So next we're going to see manager role. Here Ali and Jack are users with manager role. Oops, I'm sorry, they are not supposed to delete. And then they can upload as well, just like authenticated users. And finally, the public user, here the username is Sanyo, but of course you can add any user. So currently I only permit this public user to find, or in REST API we can use HTTP method get to retrieve all data on image repos. So that's it about roles and permissions. So next we are going to see all users. Here this is the email and username of users. So for example, here I created, for example, Jack, a user which is confirmed and has a role which is manager. So um, we have three roles which are authenticated: public and manager, and we can just select and change it. And I chose manager role for Jack. So next, I think I'm going to explain about authorization and authentication. So according to geeks.org, authentication is the process which identifies the users to check to I'm sorry the authentication process is to identify so in authentication process, the identity of users are checked for providing the access to system, while in authorization process, persons or users' authorities are checked for accessing the resources. So basically these explanations is covered on this image, just a single image, very simple but very meaningful as well. So authentications is just like when I come to my friend's house as a guest. Maybe my friends just ask, "Who are you?" And I will reply, "Hey, I'm Kevin, I'm your friend." And then my friend will permit or just let me into his or her house. But system, I can say backend of a system or a website can only just ask for username and password, which is covered in login process, to authenticate the users, because a computer or system cannot look for a user's face to authenticate the user, so they need username and password. Meanwhile, the authorization is like the permissions which a user has. So back again to the story that I told before, which I came to my friend's house. If I came to my friend's house, maybe he will just let me in and just we will talk about many things, such as maybe studies, homeworks, or etc. What happened during this coronavirus pandemic, just like that. But if I want to maybe enter his room, I'm not allowed because I'm not his parent, and I'm not his relative, which my friend may allow them to to enter his room. So that is authorization. And I looked at auth0.com. So authentication determines whether users are who they claim to be, and authorization determines what user can and cannot access. Okay, just like the story for authentication, when I came to my friend's house, I will say that I am Kevin, I claim to be Kevin. And authorization is like I am guest to my friend's house, and I am friend to my friend. So maybe I can enter his house, but I cannot enter his room, which is maybe private. So in authorization, generally it transmits info through an access token. So one of the credential given during authorization process is GWT, which stands for JSON Web Token, and it is used to access an API, which we will cover later using Postman. So the explanation, I think, is enough. So let's go back to Strapi, and I will open Postman, and I will create a user, localhost, just enter this and change the endpoint to image repos. Okay, then for example, I will create a new entry, files.photo, and I will set this data to text and set this field files.photo to file, because I'm trying to upload a photo. So data is in JSON format. For example, I will create Matsumoto for NAMA field, and for biodata field I will enter hi, I created Ruby and I love programming. And for the photo, I will just download this. So I just downloaded the photo. I will attach the photo matsumoto.png. Oh, I forgot to explain why the field names are NAMA and biodata. So here on image repo we have some fields which are namely NAMA, biodata, and photo. So the data field covers text type, so NAMA and biodata fields are written here, and we have photo field to upload the image file, which is matsumoto.png. Okay, then so I will try to create an entry on image repos, and let's see if the entry is or will be added here. You send this. Oops, we've got a status code 403 which states forbidden. So this is an error. Okay, why this happened? Because the Postman, the Strapi recognized me as a public user, which is in this role. I cannot create a user or an entry to image repos. So I will just try to authenticate myself by changing this to row. Oh no, I will just try to get GWT or JSON Web Token. Change this to post localhost. So we need this endpoint /auth/local to authenticate ourselves, and then choose body tab, click row on radio button, and we will just change this field to JSON, and then I'm gonna authenticate myself. So we need two fields, which are identifier and password. So I'm going to use a manager role because, oops, I'm sorry, I have not saved it yet. I'm going to use manager role because it can create an entry to image repos, and I will just use this credential Jack. Of course, this is not real email of this user. So in this identifier field, I can enter whether Jack or his email, which is jack@gmail.com. For the password, it is jackabcd. So it's just the password. I forgot comma here. So I will try to send this first. I hope it can generate a JWT, JSON Web Token, for a user. Yes, we have 200 status, which is okay, and here we are. We got a JWT token here, whose user is jack@gmail.com. We'll just try to copy this, and I will back to the previous request post method with endpoint of image repos, which we could not send a new entry, which we could not create a new entry. So we just go to authorization tab, select type to bearer token, just copy this, paste this, and then do not send this yet because we will just verify the entry. Name Matsumoto, biodata is I created Ruby and I love programming, and next we will send the data. So we will send authorization, JWT token with our request in the same request, and we will just send this. Hopefully it will create for me. Yes, it came back with HTTP status code 200, which states OK, and we've created a new user whose nama field is Matsumoto, and etc. It also has photo. I will check on image repos, and then here we are. We successfully created Matsumoto field. Username Matsumoto, and it is exactly the same. Hi, I created Ruby and I love programming. His name is Matsumoto, and photo is uploaded. Great. So the main content of this video is like this: authorization and authentication. Basically it is a bit different, but authentication and authorization are deeply related. So just a brief, just quick explanation for GraphQL. So by default, Strapi uses REST API, but it can also use GraphQL. So we can know that from this body tab it has radio button of GraphQL, but I don't have any schemas yet. I will create just new API first. So for example, the name is image repo, the version is 1.0.0. We'll change the schema type to GraphQL and schema format is GraphQL SDL. So if I already have API schema, I can select a file then upload it here and just create GraphQL API in this Postman, and I can just combine it. I can use the GraphQL API within Strapi. So this is just the explanation in Postman. So how can we use GraphQL API in Strapi? So go to Marketplace on the left side of the page and search for GraphQL plugin, Marketplace plugins. But I have the GraphQL plugins already installed. So if you have not installed yet, you can just press this to install, and then I can access localhost, and the endpoint is GraphQL. So Strapi will provide me to Strapi will redirect me to screen like this. If I change the endpoint to GraphQL, and I can just write my query and just download this schema. So it's just a brief explanation of GraphQL. And if I downloaded this schema, I can import here, but currently I don't have the GraphQL API schema, so just create an API. In this case, if I create an API, I will create the schema here. So that's all. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any advice or suggestion regarding to this video, just please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.